summary channel. And this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about very important statement that was made by the President of Ukraine Zelensky. Yesterday he reported about very critical situation around the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. He stated that one of the diesel generators that provide power to the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant has failed. The emergency situation at the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant has been going on for the 7th day. The situation is critical due to Russian shelling. As you can see, Zelensky is saying that the Russians were attacking the nuclear power plant that is located on their territory, probably for unknown reasons, and he stated that the station has been disconnected from the power grid. It is supplied with electricity from diesel generators. He emphasized that the situation that the station is not designed to be powered by generators, and we already have information that one of the generators has failed, and this is a threat to absolutely everyone. So as we understand, the situation is critical, and obviously we see that Zelensky is trying to blackmail Russia with this situation. Zelensky is trying to force Russians to stop bombing their energy facilities, and if Russians don't stop bombing and attacking energy facilities all over the entire territory of Ukraine, then most likely the Ukrainians will continue escalating the situation around the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. And telling the truth, everything is possible, including another disaster like we had in the Fukushima nuclear power plant or in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in Russia. Today we got a very interesting video from the city by the name of Yaroslavl. As you can see, another oil refinery was damaged or even destroyed by Ukraine attack. In this video we can see the consequences of another Ukraine attack that was carried out to the northeast of the city of Moscow or to the southwest of the city of Yaroslavl. The Yaroslavl oil refinery was pretty damaged. Most likely this will affect the production of Russian, let's say, fuel and gasoline. And this is another episode, another video when we see that Ukrainians continue their attacks on Russian energy facilities and, the most important, on Russian oil refineries. Just yesterday, if you remember, we discussed this video where we can see that Russians came to conclusion that it's time to fortify their oil refineries all over the entire territory of the Russian Federation to reduce things that happens like we just saw in the area of Yaroslavl. So the Russians began establishing and creating protection nets, protection carcass around the, let's say, oil refineries. They believe that this may help them to reduce damage from Ukrainian side. Now let's move to Ukraine. We have lots of very interesting updates, and first let's talk about the city of Dnipro. During the previous 24 hours, the Russians attacked the city of Dnipro with a significant number of drones. The Russians attacked buildings in the central part. This is the first important thing. And the second is that the Russians attacked the city of Dnipro during the daylight. So they didn't attack the city of Dnipro during the night period of time. They were attacking this place when everybody were at their jobs, their works, and so on. And later we got report why the Russians, more precisely we got answer why the Russians decided to attack the central part of Dnipro during the daylight when lots of civilians were exactly in this area. The sources are saying that the Russians attacked an office, Ukrainian office, the Ukraine office where people were working as scammers. They were calling all over the entire territory of the Russian Federation, trying to blackmail people in Russia and trying to force them to send money to their bank accounts. So this is the office in the central part of Dnipro, and this is the reason why the Russians attacked this office during the daylight, because the Russians wanted to be 100% sure that all those scammers will come to their works and they would be attacked by Russian drones. So as of now, we don't know for sure whether the Russians managed to get results or not. Anyway, the situation is very critical. The Russians began attacking the territory of Ukraine during the daylight, which obviously can lead to casualties among civilians. Of course, the Russians may finish and may complete their military tasks, but at the same time, the casualties among civilians may increase. Almost the same situation took place in the area of the city of Kharkiv. The Russians attacked the city also during the daylight, but as of the 1st of October of 2025, we still haven't received information what exactly the Russians were trying to hit. Maybe another office, scammer's office, maybe another recruit center. As for now, we don't know, but probably today we're gonna get additional information, and then we will understand what kind of military task the Russians were trying to complete in this city as well. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground, and first let's talk about the Zaporozhye direction where the Russians continue their offensive operation. If you remember, yesterday we emphasized that the 30th of September of 2025 was the first day when we hadn't received even a single update about additional changes on the ground. And we had the question whether the Russians stopped their offensive or maybe the Ukrainians managed to bring additional forces with the purpose to stabilize the situation. So the situation was unclear. And today we got the answer to this question. The Russians, as a result of offensive operation, managed to enter the settlement by the name of Poltavka. So now we have proofs that the Russians began assault operation on the first fortified area in this region. We're talking about the Poltavka fortified area. We have this video that was published by Ukrainian resources, and here we can see how Russians were answering farms in the southeastern part of the settlement under very heavy fire of Ukrainian artillery forces. So this video confirms that the Russians managed to break through the defense of this Poltavka fortified area, and that Russians managed to answer first buildings, and now the Russians are trying to dig in deeper. So the battle for Poltavka has begun. The Russians will continue offensive operation from many directions, and we are waiting for additional updates. We believe that in 1 or 2 weeks, if everything will be okay for Russians, they will be able to finish the battle for the settlement. 1 or 2 weeks, and then the battle for the Uspienovka fortified area will also begin. First, the Russians most likely will try to outflank the Uspienovka fortified area from the southwest along these trenches. The Russians may try to continue offensive in the direction of the settlement by the name of Vishneva, and then Russians will continue offensive operation in the southern direction. So we see that the Russians are entering the final and the decisive phase of the Zaporozhye offensive operation, when they will try to capture these territories that includes the Uspienovka and the Poltavka fortified areas. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the area of breakthrough to the northeast of the Pokrovsk agglomeration. During the previous 24 hours, we received first changes on the ground in the Russian favor. Not first one, but additional changes. I would like to remind you that the last attack that was carried out by the Ukrainians took place somewhere on the 24th and the 25th of September of 2025. And during those attacks, the Ukrainians managed to get as close as possible to their task to encircle Russians in the area of the settlements of Mayak, Boykovka, Kucherev Yar, and so on. The Ukrainians were very close to achieve this task, to achieve this target, but they were stopped as a result of Russian counterattacks. And the Russians managed not just to stop Ukrainians in this attempt, but also the Russians counterattacked and managed to improve their position significantly as well. Already by the 27th of September, the Russians, as a result of fast lightning and unexpected counteroffensive, captured the village of Dorozhny. Later, the Russians attacked the settlement of Zapovedne and encircled the Ukrainians to the west of the village of Boykovka. Later, by the 29th of September, the Russians captured completely the settlement of Kucherev Yar and forced the Ukrainians to fall back from this area. And by the 1st of October of 2025, the Russians recaptured the settlement of Novotoretsk, at least its central part, and the Russians improved their logistics in this area, and the Russians improved their positions to the northwest of the settlement of Mayak. So the Russians not just, repelled the Ukrainian attacks in this area. The Russians, as we can see, managed to improve their position significantly, and it seems that the Russians currently control the initiative in their hands, and they're improving, and they're going to improve their positions in the future. It seems that we entered and we have already passed a turning point in the battle for the Shahova pocket. Now it seems the Russians will continue in the same way. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for your watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.